Hi there, everybody. It's David from All Blocks Lego User Group here in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm trying to host a tutorial on how to use online Lego databases to create an inventory and manage it. I hope that you guys can hear me. Just hold on a moment. I just want to check something. I've never done this before, so this is a bit of a learning curve. I've got Richard on BrickLink here. He's just posted a comment. Is it live? All right, here we go. Now I've got confirmation of that and I can sort of get stuck into it, okay? All right, sorry for the little bit of technical difficulty there as we synced the laptop and everything here. I've never done anything quite like this, so I apologize for that. We're just running a few minutes late. Hey, I posted a suggestion on a New Zealand Facebook group called Fandom recently about whether anyone wanted to learn how to set up a online Lego database for managing your inventory or valuing your collection or simply ordering parts. I designed a tutorial around that. So what I wanted to do was share with you a how-to, how to set up a database in BrickSet and how to order parts if you are missing some parts from your collection, and a few sort of ideas and things around that. So let's see how this goes. What I want to do is share with you a screenshot from on the other side of my where I'm sitting at home. This is the login to the BrickSet website, and at the moment you might be able to see that it's not logged in. So one of the things that if you don't have an account with BrickSet and you go there as a guest, is that there's all sorts of advertising material around the side. So you'll see some Google ads in the top and the bottom and the sides and stuff, and it gets really quite confused. If once you have decided to take the plunge and create an account with BrickSet and you then log it in, all of that advertising material disappears. So if I log in, I'm just going to push that button there, which is login, and that will catch up with me eventually. Sorry about my internet connection, it's a little bit slower. So there we are. I'm on the login page. That's my username, flags NZ, my password, and I'm going to click that and log in. And once that happens, you'll notice that all that advertising on the screen has disappeared. And it's just the articles, and there's a few banners on the sides which are BrickSet generated, but you've lost all of those Google ads that are cluttering up the screen. Now, what I want to show you is, I'm just going to log out. Just to log out, I want to up here in the top right hand corner is this little button that says sign up. So if I click on sign up when I'm logged out, there we go. So we get the sign up page, and it's asking you to create a username. If the username is already selected, then it will tell you that that's already occupied by someone else and you need to change your username. That's principally why I'm now Flags NZ, because Flags was already a username when I first started BrickSet a while ago. The email address so that they can communicate with you, and you've got to repeat that, and then you've got to log in to show you're not a robot. So if you have taken the plunge and you've created an account, then what you can do on BrickSet is register your collection against the inventories that already exist in the BrickSet database. I will like to say that while it's a bit of a pain that you get all these adverts appearing on BrickSet, it's a website that's funded principally from links to advertising material, and in particular Hugh Millington in Britain is registered against the various affiliate programs with Lego. So if you click on a link anywhere in BrickSet, a few fractions or a percentage of the sales that you might be clicking and purchasing then gets deposited into Hugh's in the BrickSet account, and that's effectively what funds the BrickSet website. I'm just logging in here. Right, now we're in. Now, once you have created an account, I just want to share a couple of things that I think you should be mindful of. At the top of the BrickSet user interface are all these bright colored buttons. You can browse sets, you can purchase, you can view your sets. There's a forum, which I don't participate in too much. There's some more features on the orange button, and then there's particularly on the right hand side, there's my menu. And what I want to go and I want to have a look at this part of the my menu, which is called profile. So if I click on profile, you'll see my profile because I'm sharing the screen, and I want to do this edit your profile at the top. So let's just talk about some of the things that are on this my profile before we go on. That's my name. I've chosen to put that there. I've got a member number, and that's when I started, and that's today's date. So I'm still here and I'm in New Zealand. When we look at edit my profile, you'll see that there's an option that people can contact me, so they can send something to me. But this is the most important one that I want to talk about today, because we're talking about inventories and collections. So this one here that says collection, view flags as collection. And if I click on that, you will be able to see all of the sets that I own that I've registered against BrickSet. And you can filter it. We can go up to theme, and we can look at creator expert. We can, anyone who, if that's been selected in your profile, can look at the sets that you own under your name. So what I want to do is I want to go back to my profile. And I think this is really important, because you might be wanting to create a inventory of your sets, and you're uncomfortable knowing that other people can see how much you own. So underneath your, and when you've gone back, I'll just go one step back. here on Brickset, when you edit your profile here in here, we'll click on that, and that's the place where I put my name and all of the other bits and pieces. But there's this little tick box. There's three little tick boxes here. The second one down says allow anyone to view my collection. So if that's selected, anyone who logs into Brickset can look at your collection. If you deselect that, then it's disabling that option. And I'd imagine that there will be people out there that would prefer that to be deselected so that your database and inventory is not visible to anyone else. So I'm just going to keep that tick box selected because we're going to look at my collection and do some bits and pieces. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the home. Right, now what I want to do is I want to show you how easy it is to add a set to your inventory. So recently I bought the boutique hotel. So I'm just going to write up here, boutique, and it pops up. Eventually it'll pop up in this list, boutique hotel. So I'm going to click on that, and here it appears. Now, when a set appears in Brickset, not only is there some tags at the top of the main part of the entry, but there are some tags down here on the right hand side. And so these tags enable you to filter it with features in that set that might appeal to you. So this is a modular building. If I was to click on that, I would see all the modular buildings. This is a creator expert set. So that tag there will enable the creator expert sets to appear. And as I roll down on this page, there's some other features in here. There's this bit here on the right hand side that says collections. 5,535 members of Brickset own this set. 4,000 want this set. Now I'm going to click on this little box here, tick box, and it says I own this set. All right, and it automatically populates that field in that dialog box to 1. If you owned more than 1, you can change that number. But at the moment, I'm just going to say I own that set, and it's done. Now, next time, I'll go up here to the search button field, and I'm going to type the set number 10297. 10, sorry, my ham-fisted fingers. 10297. And this time, when we did the search, you'll notice that there's green, and that green indicates that I own this set. So we click on that. We're going to go to the boutique hotel, same page, same thing, and you'll notice that that field there where we put that data in is now green because I've registered that set. I want to also, while we're here, talk about this little dialog box that's immediately underneath that collection, and it's your notes. And in this field, you can put some other supporting information in there. Maybe you purchased it from a certain store, maybe you paid a certain amount, maybe you bought it online and it was missing the minifigures, maybe you bought it and it was on a discount, a 20% discount or a price you pay. And you can put some information into my notes that gives some context to what this is. Okay, so we've added this set into my collection. It's green on there, and we saw it earlier up here when I typed that set number up there. It appeared in green, so now that's part of my collection. Up here, we're going to look at parts and how we can order parts and missing parts and that. So I just want to look at this This is probably the tab that I visit more often than any other in searching for bits and pieces here, which is this parts tab that appears a little bit underneath the key information about the boutique hotel. So I'm going to click on that parts tab. I've got a slow connection here, so we're going to have to wait for that. Now, we have the parts that appear. There's a little thumbnail sketch against all the parts. It's listing all the parts in that set. At the top, there's telling you how many individual pieces of each individual element appears in the set. And I want you to look at, when we scroll through, when we look at some of the parts in this particular set, that there are now these green boxes that are trying to tell you that not only do I own this bit in that boutique hotel, but I own 347 similar parts in the database of sets that I own. As we scroll through, you'll see that a lot of those parts are owned elsewhere in the sets that I own. If they're not owned, it's like this one here. It says I own 0 sets. Okay, this part, this cupcake number 1, is in 6 sets. I can click on that and I can see which sets that part is available in. What I want to do though is that this is quite a clunky user interface. I want to look at this database, this set parts listing as a table. So there's 3 choices here, and I'm just going to look at view inventory as a table. I'm going to click on that. Now, all of that information is now arranged in a table, and the beauty of this option is that we can filter or sort depending on what we are wanting to do. So here's some things we can do. We can sort by color. So we can click on that and it will sort in order of color. We can sort by category. We can sort by, this is one of the things I do when I'm doing a review in particular, is the design and sets. So some parts are unique to this particular set that came out in 2022. And you can see there that there are a few parts that are listed on this as only occurring in this set. As you scroll down, you will see that those numbers begin to increase in number, and they have been seen in more sets. So when you're looking at the inventory in a table like this, you can filter it and mix it around to find out the information that you're looking for. When dealing with parts, there are an element number down this column, and there's a design number down this column here. The element number refers to particular colors or features of a piece that might be molded from an alternative mold. So you might have the design one is that's a piece that comes in multiple colors, but this element is that particular piece in this particular color. And that's important when you're wanting to find parts and find elements in your collection. I'll give you an example. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at this little door that comes on an end on a cupboard. And over here, in these 2 columns, there is design and set and element and set. So if I click on this number 1 here, which is element and set, and I right click and open it, it's telling me that this particular element, which has that element number, is only found in the boutique hotel. If I go back to this same database and I click on the found in sets, what that's telling me is that this particular design, which is the mold, think that of the mold that's pumped these pieces out, is found in 3 sets. Now, I want to look at the difference in here. This is the element number. And it's telling me that in the boutique hotel, it contains 4, if you look at this notes down here, there are 4 of these elements in this particular set down here. And if I go on to the other one, which is the design number, it's telling me the same thing, but in particular, there's a change. It's telling me that there are 4 of those elements, and in this set, it's sand yellow, so it's giving me a color. If I scroll down, it's saying that the same design is in this set, Hogwarts Moment, and there are 2 of that, but in this one, it's dark orange. So what this is telling me is that the piece is there, but it's not the same color. If I continue to scroll down, it's in the Hogwarts Magical Trunk, and that piece is in this set, that it's in dark orange as well. So in this table that we're looking at BrickSet, we can look at where this is, we can find out how many sets these parts have been used in, and we can find how many sets these particular designs or molds have been used in. And if we filter this by the year, you will see the things that have been introduced in 2022, and we can look back and think, well, some of these parts are introduced in the 1980s. The beauty of looking at the parts in this table is that we can rearrange them to suit what it is that you're trying to search for. Now, if I produce, I'm going to choose a pretty universal element so that we can have a look at something a bit more, some other features. Let's filter this. So we find, while you're on BrickSet, don't lose sight of, there's this tiny little button down here on the bottom, always on the bottom right hand corner. If you click that, you go to the top. So if I go elements and sets and I choose that, look, we're going to find elements that are in a whole range of sets. So I want to look at this 2x1 white brick. It's everywhere in Lego, and I want to look at that. So there's this white brick, and when you're looking at particular parts on the BrickSet database, you can click on this identical parts, and if there is alternative parts that have an identical shape or mold, you will find it here. This is not a particularly good example because it's only appearing right there. So that doesn't really show me anything that's going to change your world. Let's look at this one, which is a no, that hasn't shown identical. That hasn't shown you alternative parts. The alternative parts are different molds that, no, that's not there. Anyway, maybe I'll just give that a bit of a skip, because what I find is that when I'm looking for parts in the database and I click on that alternative parts, there will be a similar part somewhere else in the database that does the same thing, and you can find it, but it's got a different number designation for the element or a number designation for the mold. What I want to look at next is perhaps you want to purchase a part. And one of the things that I see in multiple online forums is people will post something saying, what's this part? What's this part number? I can't find any information about. And honestly, if I'm looking for something in a part, I might look at one of the more recent sets that has 2,000 to 3,000 parts, like the boutique hotel. I'll look in that database and I'll just scroll down to see if I can find it. What I'm looking for when I'm trying to find a part, I'm not so much worried about the color. I'm looking for the part as if it was the right shape. Because if I click on this number over here, which if we scroll at the top, it's the design number or the mold number. If I in this column here, which is in the middle, let's try this. See, I'll do that. 4079. When I click on that, that's the design element or the mold. And when I click on that, it comes up with all the different colors. And I might want to buy a particular color, but I didn't know that it came in that particular color. But when I click on that in that design number, I see all the colors that are available. And when you'll notice that the element number is the first number in this, as it gives you that information against all of those different shaped parts. So I might be looking for a particular color, and I can scroll down and say, well, I'm looking for this and this color here. That's the bit that I want to order from BrickLink. If I go to this number here, and you see, that's it there. That's the bit that I'm looking for. Let's look for identical parts. No, it's only that comes in that one. And over here against that part in the bottom of that field is looking at BrickLink. And I can buy now, and that automatically takes me to BrickLink. Waiting for it to catch up. When it's in BrickLink, it's rearranging it in price order. At the moment here, it's the lowest price. If I was to order that from this particular shop in BrickLink vendor, then I can get 5 of them. There are 5 of them in the inventory. I am paying that amount per the currency that it's currently registered against in where I am. That's in New Zealand, but elsewhere it's always, I think it always converts it to US. I can, if I click on this search here, which just says more options, my home country is New Zealand. I can click on that and go search, and that tells me that the vendors in New Zealand that are selling this part. If you're not a New Zealand resident or somewhere else in the world, then wherever you're registered in BrickLink, that will come up with your options there. New Zealand is part of Oceania, so there's an option here for Oceania, and I can search, and this gives me all of the vendors in Australia and New Zealand and Singapore and a few other countries around this region, and it's what's available there as well. So sometimes if we went anywhere and searched, we can buy these parts at really competitive prices, but you've got to factor in the delivery of those parts from those countries. If you're searching in your home country, or for example, New Zealand, and looking across to Australia, which is reasonably close, then it might mean that you're paying a little bit more or a different price, but you have the satisfaction that that order might be delivered quicker, or have less border control or complications in delivering it to you. If you're ordering it in your home country, then you never know. The store might be in the same town that you live in, and you've got to balance that up, the price per part, against the convenience of getting those pieces from someone that's local. So if we go back to the BrickSet database, that's how, when I'm looking for parts and buying that, and if we go right back to where I started from, we're in the boutique hotel. For an example, is that there was a seat that it was black in color, the minifigure little seat. I wasn't looking for black seats. I just wanted to look for seats in general. So I clicked on the design element, and it gives me some information about that. And I can scroll down and find an example of that particular part in a particular color. And when I click on that, it opens up and it's telling me that bit. If I click the identical parts, it's looking at it and it's giving me information about where that appears. And it's in that particular set. It only appeared in one set. Or I go back to when we were in there, buy, I'll click on that buy. It's not listed in that color on BrickLink, so that was a poor example. Go back to an evergreen color like yellow, I can go on there. If I click on the identical parts, it says that I own 26. Now I can click on that. Let's do that. And that particular seat is in 26 instances in my collection. So when I click on that, this is my collection that I've owned, that part appears in. And when I scroll down, it's telling me how many of those sets I own. It's telling me how many parts per set is in each set. And so I can look at what I own and say, well, I don't want to keep that one fully built up. I might find that yellow seat in something else that I own. If we go back to this, it can also, I can click on this thing here just above it. It says it appears in 172 sets. And if I filter that by year, 2022, that part appeared in these sets in 2022. And maybe I was thinking of buying that set, or maybe I really desperately needed that part and went out to the store and bought the set. I could get the bit that I was looking for. And if I want to buy it, I can click on these options here and it will divert me to BrickLink, and I can have options about buying that, and I've already gone through how to change those filters. Okay. Now I want to talk to you about something I did recently where I was what was it? The town hall. In one of the modulars, I click on that, and if you scroll down, we'll scroll down here, I own 2 of those sets, and I was merging them together to make a big town hall. And if you look at this set, go into more images, as I described what I wanted to do, is because I was merging this set into two to make a very big town hall, I found that at the top of the set, there are all these little parts across here at the top of the roof where I wanted to, because I was making it double in width, I didn't have enough individual parts, and I wasn't trying to make two town halls into one town hall using only the parts that are available, but I ran out of these little slopes, reverse slopes here, these 2x1 reverse slopes. So I went into the parts on the database, and I wanted to find, I'll go into it as a table, and I wanted to find those little reverse slopes, 2x1s, which were grey. I find them, scroll down, I passed it, sorry, scroll back up. Dark stone grey, no, sorry, it's light grey. Apologise for that. This one here. So I was looking for some of these reverse slopes. I clicked on that, and I clicked on identical parts, and I had them in these sets. So I click on this number here. So what I was able to do was look at the sets that I own and say, oh, well, okay, I want this bit. And it told me everywhere that this part existed, and I could go and raid it off a set that I wasn't particularly, and I think I took this Doctor Who set apart. This Doctor Who set had 8 of those elements, and if I open that as an image, underneath this, the inside of the TARDIS are those upside down slopes, and I was able to score 1 or 2 of the missing bits that I had in my collection because I wasn't so fussed about the Doctor Who TARDIS, particularly the inside bit. I like the blue police call box, and so I was able, instead of going and rushing out and buying some pieces, I was able to just get the few parts to finish the modification to the town hall that I was doing. Okay, and for some of you that might be what you want to do. When we are looking at the databases in BrickSet, I want to just highlight this commentary that's at the top of the parts list only. I think it's only in this format here, where you're seeing all the images in this format here. And in particular, I want to look at this statement that says 100% complete. So the BrickSet database pulls this information directly from lego.com. There is no other manipulation of that information. It just comes across. And one of the things that I think the Lego company does in their inventories is, I believe, don't hold me to this, but I believe that when a particular part in an inventory of a set exceeds 200, and think Technic sets where you got those little black connectors in bags, and you might have several hundred in one of the bigger sets, I believe that it doesn't register against their inventory that they publish. And so you can sometimes get a number here that says it's 96% complete or it's 98% complete. It's giving you an information about the confidence that the database here is reliable. But if it's not 100%, don't worry too much about it. If I click on inventory as a table, and I see it here, and I go to this one here, this link here to BrickLink. I'm just going to right click and open it up in a different tab. The BrickLink inventories, in my opinion, are complete. And sometimes when there's some data on this one that is missing, the BrickLink inventory is more reliable. You can still filter it. It's pulled directly into the BrickSet user interface. You can still filter it, but it doesn't have so many tabs at the top of the table as opposed to this one here where you've got lots more tabs. But it typically has parts that are the people in BrickLink verify that the databases are complete from what they actually get in the sets. All right. So that's giving you an idea of how the databases in BrickSet are arranged, and it's talking about your inventory that you might have set up. If I look at, I'm going to do two things now. I want to talk about analysis of a collection, and the next thing I want to talk about is the colors, because the BrickLink and BrickLink and Lego colors designations are different. So I'm going to go over here and look at my sets, this blue one here, sets you own. And I can see it as a table, as a gallery. I can look at it as a table, and I can look at it as a collection analysis. So this is my collection. Of the number of sets I own, I've got that many Technic, that many City, that many Creator Expert, so on and so forth. And there's all these bar graphs by piece count and by value. So there's all this analysis there. Yeah, this is a good graph to work out where your dark ages were, because it's sort of highlighting where you bought most of your sets and where you haven't bought so much sets. So there's this analysis of the collection on as graphs. We can look at my sets by Advanced Collection Manager, and we can look at some information there. We can send out a CSV file. We can, there's all sorts of widgets in BrickSet that will publish some information. A few years ago, some people on this forum might be aware that a few years ago I had a proportion of my collection was stolen, and I was able to use the database in BrickSet for insurance purposes to make a claim against that. So there's all sorts of things that can be done with your collection under this My Sets analysis. Minifigures, if you're into minifigures, you can look at minifigures in your collection. That doesn't, it's not part of what I do, so I'm not going to comment on that. But if you're a minifigure collector, you've got options there. And an improvement that Hugh Millington added a couple of years ago is that you can actually register parts into your collection against sets that you own. So if you have an inventory of spare parts, you can add that to your collection as well, not just the sets. Right. If I go to, I'll click on that boutique. Right. Now, what I'm going to do is just waiting for my internet to catch up. I'm going to view as a table. And I'm going to scroll down and I'll see if I can find a particular color, because I'm going to click on that, this one here. A fairly evergreen sort of color, and I'm going to highlight a particular feature. So this here is a 1x2 brick, and it's pretty standard against a whole range of sets. If I click on that, it appears in over 400 sets. I've got 500 of them in my collection, but I want to come over here and see if I can just increase the screen size so that we can look at some of this thing over here. And it's the color. Now, the color according to Lego is called brick yellow, and the color according to BrickLink is tan. I'm not entirely sure why there's now these two designations for most of the colors, but the BrickLink color tan is very popular and people identify with that, and the Lego color is less popular and less people identify with that. But it's important that you understand that there are two names for some of the colors in the Lego parts universe. I'll put that back to 100%, because when we go to, if I want to buy that, and I go to BrickLink, over here it's going to list it as that color, tan brick. And sometimes when you're ordering parts, it's important to understand that the color that's listed in BrickLink differs from the color that's listed in lego.com. Whether or not BrickLink is now owned by Lego, whether or not there's going to be a cleaning up of this discrepancy, I don't know. But just be aware that if you're looking for parts, this is a good place over here on the right hand side of the BrickSet databases to establish what the name of that color might be in the different databases that exist. Okay. All right. If I look at, I'm now in the BrickLink user interface, and if there's some buttons at the top as market and studio and community. If I look at the market and I go to stores and click on that, it's listing all the stores, and it's arranged in the various regions around the world. So in Europe, there's the Americas, North and South America. There's Europe, there's all these stores in Europe. In Asia, Oceania, which is where we live in New Zealand, these are the countries that identify as being in Oceania, and Africa and the Middle East is down here. Now, being a New Zealand resident, and this is a broadcast to New Zealanders, I'm going to click on New Zealand. But this same analysis applies to any other country or any other region that you might be in. So here in New Zealand, these are the stores that are BrickLink stores. And you can see that some stores have considerable number of parts. There's one over here which I was looking at earlier that had over 1 million. It's in Wellington. There's over 1.4 million parts in their store for sale. And I'm not picking on anyone in particular, but this is a seller in Auckland that I use called Mock Magic, and he has just slightly less than 1,000,000 parts in his store. And I don't want to pick on one. I don't want to be a favorite. I'm not wanting to. It doesn't come as a recommendation that you choose this particular seller against any other. But this is a particular store that is selling parts on BrickLink in Auckland, New Zealand. And there are designations here about all the parts that are listed in their inventory. And it might pay that you become familiar with how parts are described in BrickLink, because they have bricks that are, as it describes, bricks. You've got bricks that are modified. You've got plates, and you've got plates that are modified. And all of these terms in here help you find the pieces that you're looking for. You've got themes, you've got train, if you're into trains, or train track. If you're into boats, there's boat parts. If you're into various themes and stuff, you can refine your searches by understanding how these designations here relate to the parts that are available in that database. But what I want to do is I want to refine, I want to filter. So here I'm looking at a particular store, and at the top there's this little button that's called filters. And what I do more often than not is that I'm filtering by a color. And I'm going to choose dark azure, which he doesn't have. It's a shame, because that's my favorite color. If I choose a particular color, then all of the parts that are in this particular store are visible if we filter it by a particular color. And the way in which I often, when I'm buying parts for a particular project, I might go to a store and buy the bits that I actually want from this particular vendor, and then go to a color that I'm interested in and look at. I'm trying to find some colors in here. Why is that not working? What have I done? Maybe I've changed something. Oh, I know. Let's go back. Hold on. Right. All right. I know what's wrong. I was looking under. I'm going to go by. I know what I've done. I'm going to go all colors. Right. Sorry. What I'd done is that I'd selected category, and I'd selected boat, and then I was looking at this particular vendor's inventory against boat. What I want to do is I want to look at color. Now if I go to filter, all colors, and let's try that dark azure. Right, all colors. Maybe, what have I done now? Maybe it just doesn't have any of that color. Maybe I'm just, okay. Sorry about this. Right, let's start afresh. If I go into here, color, all colors, I'm going to, there you go. Sorry, I don't know what I did earlier. Apologize for that. I'd obviously selected an option down here somewhere, and I was searching for one condition first and a color second. So here, if I'm searching in here under the filters, these are all the parts that this particular store has in that particular color, dark azure. Okay. And in addition to that, when I've selected that color, you will see that down in the selection of the parts that are listed against that, you will now see that there are some options that are available and some options that aren't. So that's giving you some idea of where the parts in that particular color are available for purchase. So if I click on all filters and I go all colors, then all of those things are option. And these little numbers against it are telling you the number of parts listed against that category that are available in this person's inventory. If we go back to BrickLink, and I've been involved in reviewing some of the BrickLink designer program sets that were released on the first wave. I haven't received the sets from the second wave, but one of the sets that's due for being published in Brick Set shortly is the Pursuit of Flight. So if I search on that, here is this Pursuit of Flight that's available for purchase. And some people are now selling that on BrickLink. And one of the comments against the reviews that I've got from people that are reading those reviews is I missed out. There's only 10,000 of this set produced. And I've missed out and I can't buy it. And there's scalpers on eBay that are selling this 2 or 3 more times the price that it's worth. Now I'm highlighting this in particular because all of the BrickLink designer program sets are made from parts that are available in BrickLink, and we can part that out. So if you missed out on this set and you want to purchase it, or better still, you want a Lego set that you want to build from parts, but you don't want to pay the exorbitant fee, we can create a wanted parts list from BrickLink. So I just chose one set. This is the Pursuit of Flight. I could put any other name set up there or set number up there. And there's this thing here that says part out. When I click on that part out, it creates, I'm going to create a wanted list from that. So I want to, I need to put I'm going to just call it flight. And I'm going to submit that. And that's going to search in BrickLink. And that's the parts that are in that set, all the different colors. I can include those parts or change them. I can change the number that I need. If I don't need certain parts, I don't need to buy them. If I want to change the color, I can change the color, and I can add it to a wanted list. And I called it flight. And if I click on this, I now have a wanted list, which are all the pieces in that. And when I select it, I can see the vendors that have those parts available for sale. I'll just wait for it to catch up. So there are vendors that have that number of parts out of that wanted list, and it's ordered with the closest, the vendor that has the most number of parts available to your wanted list at the top. I can refine that. I'm in New Zealand, so I'm going to refine that because I want to buy from someone in New Zealand, or I can buy that from someone in Oceania, or I can look at anywhere. So this is a way which I've looked at a set and I've decided I want to buy it, but I don't want to buy it as a set. I want to buy it as individual parts, and these are the vendors that have those parts. Now, if you went into any bit, go back to my yellow seat that we were looking at earlier, I can say add to my wanted list, and I want it in that particular color, and I'm going to add it to my wanted list. Okay, I can create a new wanted list. Earlier today I was looking at the Castle in the Forest BrickLink designer program. Just now I've created Flight. I can create a new wanted list because I've got a particular project that I want, and then I can add that part to the wanted list, and then eventually I'm able to purchase the parts that I want against that wanted list, and it will match it up with the vendor that best fulfills the list of parts that I need. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to buy that seat, but I hope you get an idea of what that means. Okay. So I hope that I've explained myself to you people online. Have anyone got more comments that you want to add into the dialogue? Someone's put about curious to know how you could transfer a wanted list to BrickLink. I actually asked Hugh that. Someone posted that on Facebook recently. I particularly asked him that, and I don't have an answer for you on that one. My overarching opinion would be that Hugh Millington designs his website to communicate with all the other Lego related websites around, and I believe that there's an option for that. And if it doesn't exist, Hugh would be able to create it, but I don't know how to show that to you. All right. Is there any other questions? Thank you. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry. Thank you. The thing this is from Carl. Thank you. I found the annoying thing about the process is when it comes up with the store that has the highest quantity of parts, but a lot of the parts are more expensive than elsewhere. Yeah, when you're in, you've got to balance that up against the convenience of buying from somewhere maybe local against taking a risk and it having a bit further offshore and having to wait for the parts. When you select a particular part, I'll just do this here, buy now. when you look at it, when you're looking at the parts, you can see that these are the stores. Now, if I, at the moment, this is from anywhere, and it's currently filtered by lowest price. I can change that filter here by the highest price. Who knows? Maybe I want to pay a bit more. Some people want this 1x2 brick to be $3.12. Would I pay that? Probably not. But sometimes I want, rather than the price, I want the quantity. And so if I use this filter here and I want the highest quantity, then I am assured that I want to get 100 or 200 or 1,000, that vendor can supply them. So it's a compromise whether or not you want to pay for the price or the quantity. You might, and don't be too scared to just check out their ratings. You know, different websites have different vendors have different ratings, and some have if the feedback's a little bit below sort of 90, the high 90%, then you might give them a bit of a skip. But it's giving you an option, and if you've been doing this for long enough, you sometimes see that some of the same vendors are actually got more of the parts that you're looking for. I'll do a follow-up stream if Hugh comes back to me with that thought about how we can merge the databases. I hope that for Carl that helped you in determining which vendor and BrickLink you might be buying some parts for. Oh, not to mention the cost of the shipping and multiple orders. You're right, it's very much a balancing act. I agree with you there. I've missed it, but can you import lists into your BrickSet collections inventory? I need to develop that one. Maybe I'll as it's already been mentioned, do a follow-up article here, stream a follow-up article, and we can answer some of these questions. And as Carl has just said, he has his favorite vendors. I agree with you there. Reliability is king. And honestly, you're probably only talking about a few cents per part, but use the vendors that have treated you well and delivered on time and packaged them correctly and all of that stuff. Okay. Is anyone else? I'm reading the comments as they come through. Has anyone else got a comment to post? Otherwise, I'll close this off. Alrighty. So I think that we've come to the end of. I think we've come to the end of what I wanted to achieve here. I've just sort of summarized that I've shown people how to add the search here for sets and add it to their collection. Down here, add it to a collection. There's notes. I've shown people how to find whether or not they have parts in their collection that might be that they were unaware of, which would save them the hassle of ordering parts online. I've linked it to ordering parts here. I always go to BrickSet as a first port of call to search for bits and pieces. If I'm looking for parts, I will typically, if it's a system part, I'll typically look at the most modular buildings, the most recent modular buildings, because they typically have the most recent molds and parts available. The ones that are in that sort of couple of thousand parts inventory. If it's a Technic set, it will be the most recent Technic set that has the most recent part development, and just scroll through and find it. Okay. And then please be aware that unless you want people to see your sets, you go into your profile and enable people to see your collection. There might be a reason why you don't want people to see your selection. Okay. And I have suffered a significant loss of my Lego a while ago, and being able to recall this information for insurance purposes certainly helped me in a claim, and I did get a payout from my insurance company based on that. And I used, in particular, they were interested in the value of the sets, and when I went to BrickLink has a feature about the value of sets and recent sales and stuff like that. But maybe that's another tutorial that we'll talk about in a later time. Okay, but that's a summary of what we've covered today. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to sign off now, and thanks a lot for those who are attending this tutorial. See you later. Have fun.